Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. And through this channel, I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on our $1 Million Challenge. So for anybody who's not aware of this, this is a journey of an investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is to try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, and we do take into account losses. So for further details in terms of detailed strategy and also how to join us in the challenge, details are available in the description below. In the previous video, we did some important updates for ticker symbol NLST, ticker symbol INDO, Indonesia Energy, and also for ticker symbol MMAT. So please refer back to the previous video for important updates of all three stocks. In today's video, we're going to be doing an important update again for ticker symbol MMAT in response to George's tweet. And we're also going to be sharing with you three stocks to look at in terms of three stocks that have been added to our watch list for this week. And these will be shared towards the end of the video, so please stay tuned to the end. So let's now have a look at George's tweet. So this tweet was released just as yesterday's video was being edited, so it wasn't enough time to cover it. So we're going to have a look at this now. So George has tweeted here on the screen: since we did not have time on the earnings call to go into details, we are preparing a dedicated presentation event where the many preference A holders' questions will be answered. I personally fully understand everyone's frustrations. We are executing a plan. Thank you for your patience. So it looks like we're finally having a response, and a specific response from George. It also looks like they're going to be carrying out a dedicated presentation. I'm not sure if this is going to include question and answer, but certainly it looks like there is a presentation. I hope there is going to be some question and answer in this presentation and an opportunity for the preference A shareholders to interact and ask specific questions. But let's give a shout out at the bottom to S. Kumar, who has responded directly to George, and what he has said is, with all due respect, sir, could we get shareholders an update on the dividend? It has been many times delayed and a little frustrating to shareholders. A little update on anticipated date and value of dividend would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So hopefully this is going to be good news, and time will tell. So let's see in terms of how this develops. What I would now like to do is share with you some of my thoughts and also a response to George that I've just tweeted today. So on the screen here, I'm going to share with you a copy of my response. And what I've said here is, George, I think most investors would prefer another small delay right now if it means you can get a buyer for the oil and gas assets, as prices are now at a premium. This will give maximum return for our dividend. So what I'd now like to do is explain the reasoning behind my tweet. I am aware that the last thing that most investors want is another delay, and also another significant delay. But what I also believe is that the vast majority of investors and holders of the preferred A share would also want to get maximum returns. So the situation is, if George is basically in a position where there are some last minute buyers, so these buyers are willing to pay a premium price for the oil and gas assets. So in my opinion, I think this will be much more preferable outcome compared to transferring the assets into Oilco. So if the assets are transferred into Oilco, first of all, it's probably going to be a private company. After that, it will have to be transferred to the OTC, and then we may get an opportunity to sell. However, if we're looking at a last minute buyer or last minute buyers, then the advantage of that is, although there will be a delay in terms of getting payment, I believe this will be quicker. So if George is basically saying, well, there were some buyers but we didn't want to delay, then I think what he should do is consider an outright sale. That, I believe, is the best outcome. That, I believe, is the outcome that is going to give us a dividend potentially well in excess of $20. So that's my opinion, and I know many people would not want a delay, but in my opinion, if a short delay, maybe 3 months, results in sale of assets rather than transfer to Oilco, then I believe, and in my opinion, that's what I would prefer. What I'd now like to do is share a number of responses to George on social media. So first of all, I'm going to give a shout out here to the Midwestern investor, and he's also tagged in George and replied. And what he said here is, this is a big deal, George. As you know, I'm glad you listened to all of us. Can we learn about the management team during the question and answer with Ken? He mentioned that you could not talk about MMTLP. What has changed all of a sudden? Question mark. I hope this is execution of a plan includes torching the short. So this is something that I think was, in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes that George made, especially with regard to that tweet. So with regard to this tweet from Midwestern Investor, he has stated that Ken did previously, we can't talk about that. So the implication there may have been an NDA. Is an NDA involved? If there is an NDA involved, then that could potentially be great news if we're looking at a buyer. And the second shout out I'd like to give now is to Grog, and Grog has also laid out some points broken down into 5 sections. So let's have a look at what he said here. He said, first of all, please lay out the details of your plan to get money into account. So obviously I'm hoping that George does cover this in the investor presentation. Number 2, he said, is what are the blockers? Is there no buying interest, or is it a bidding war? So if it is a bidding war, then that is great news, because that should drive the price up. So again, George has been fairly cryptic and guarded with regard to buyers, and if there are any buyers. So that's information that I would certainly hope that he puts into the presentation. Number 3, he's also said, what do you say about the FUD being spread about MMAT? Just wants this off their books and the spin out as a way to have the shareholders pay the fees. So again, that's an allegation there, speculative. Number 4, you were interviewed and you said you believe $20 may be low last year. So again, this is one of the reasons I believe that many people chose to invest in Meta and chose to buy into MMTLP, and also chose to qualify for these preference shares. So I think one thing that investors will be looking for is a significant return on the dividend. And finally, a question here, he said, is why do you not own any MMTLP personally? So George was previously from the Meta side of company, as most people who held the qualifying shares in MMTLP originally, we were holders of Torch. So George was not part of Torch. He's got no expertise in oil and gas. He's got no background in oil and gas, but he now has a situation where he has to deal with this company. I believe John Berda has a very significant amount of shares. He has been posting some tweets, and certainly positive ones, with potential suggestion that we could be good news. So fingers crossed it does turn out well. And the next tweet I'd like to share is from J911M, and he's also posted something that was covered in the previous video. So please refer back to my previous video with regard to what he stated here. And he said, something was filed on the 3rd, and now an open discussion by Palikaras to its shareholders, which means something is happening, just my guess. So that is correct. There was a filing yesterday. So this filing was for business entity documents, and this filing was on the page for Oilco. So this is something that George needs to clarify. He's not so far stated what these business entity documents could be or are, but I did speculate on this and cover this in my previous video. So please refer back to the previous video with regard to this new filing that happened. The next shout out I'd like to give to is Raj Shankara, and I think Raj is basically speaking to on behalf of many investors who have got the same thought. And the question here is very simple. What he said is, why were they made tradable after the cutoff date? The details alone make all of this a show. So this is a key concern. This is something the company have basically officially stated that they have not got anything to do with this. This is something they are saying is done by some unknown brokers, but however, what I would like is, I would like an investigation into this. I'd like to have these brokers named. Are they hedge funds? Are they shorts? And I would like some consequences for that, because many people who invested in Torch and had an opportunity to sell at a very significant premium, and now we are seeing people buying this at one point for less than $1, and I think at one point it was trading around about 30 cents for MMTLP. So this is a question that I also believe does need answering. The next shout out I'd like to give is to Deadeye Sai. So he's also tweeted something I think is important. So let's have a look at what he said here. And what he said here is a real concern for most investors. And what he said here is, really hope this is not a deliberate delay to disappointing news, George, question mark. To be honest, you have not really delivered your promises so far, and shareholders are feeling the heat. With the price of oil rocketing, I hope the dividend price reflects the new demand and is not $1. So key things that I shared here is, first of all, we're hoping it's not a delay, first of all, and second, we're hoping it's not disappointing news. We're also hoping it's not $1. I have read a number of people on social media who have said their marriages are on the line, their wives are potentially going to leave them, they've sold their trucks. So people have lost significant amount of dollars in this, and one of the key reasons was because of the expectation of the dividend. So I hope it's not delayed, and I hope it's not $1. So I do agree with Dead Eyesight, and let's for now give George a benefit of the doubt, and hopefully there is good news. The next shout out I'd like to give to is One Crypto King, and he's just given two important questions. First of all, how much are we getting? When are we getting it? So if in this presentation these two things are not addressed, I think there will be a significant gap. So if a decision has been made, then I think what George should add into the investor presentation is some kind of time frame of when it's going to be paid or how it's going to be paid. And another thing he needs to cover in the investor presentation, question 2 here, is when are we going to get it and how much are we going to get it? So so previously George said it could be $1 up to $20, and he's also said it could be more than $20. So the question is, what is the new estimate from George now in terms of how much we will get? And the next tweet I'd like to share with you, shout out here is to Lou Casino, and he's a little bit more bullish in his approach. And what he said here is, as an engineer working automotive corporation, I can tell you two things. Number one, the metamaterial tech is disrupting. And so in other words, he's suggesting the technology is groundbreaking. We know that. We know the significant amount of patented technology. We know the significant acquisition of nanotech. Again, that is something that the business definitely needed. We know that they have a huge number of patents, and in terms of the recent earnings, we've seen that the valuation of these in terms of potential goodwill valuation is very significant. So definitely is good news. And number two, he stated in his tweet here, is secrecy is a key element. So I hope that's true. And again, I'm sure many investors are hoping that there is a buyer and there is an announcement of a buyer, and due to secrecy, due to NDA, it's something that the company have kept under close wraps and not disclosed. So he's also said, in George we trust, because this man is ahead of the curve. I've never been more bullish about a company in my life. This is the way. And I know many people have a lot of faith in George. I also know a lot of people have lost faith in George. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we need to probably make a final decision on this once we get official news of the dividend. What I'd now like to do is move over to the final part of the video, where we look at 3 stocks that have just been added to our weekly watch list. The weekly watch list includes a significant amount of stocks to look at from trading week starting Monday. So before we look at the 3 stocks, a quick reminder of a stock that was covered in yesterday's video and also in a number of previous videos, and was also in our watch list for the previous month, and that is ticker symbol INDO, Indonesia Energy, on the screen here. Quick reminder of the chart, close of play on Friday, this was up in excess of 101%, and over the previous month it's also up in excess of 800%. So please refer back to the previous video for details on ticker symbol INDO. The first stock I'd like to share with you is ticker symbol AG, also known as First Majestic Silver Corporation. So let's have a quick look at the profile on the screen here. This is a company that is engaged in the acquisition, exploration, development and production of mineral products, with a particular focus on silver and gold production in Mexico. So I'm sure many of you will be aware that in times of uncertainty, in times of inflation, and right now we've seen the times are also times of war, gold is something that is seen as something secure and safe. So this is a stock which I think is potentially going to do very well. Let's have a look at the chart for ticker symbol AG. So on the screen here, I'm going to share with you the 5-day chart for ticker symbol AG, and I think the interesting date here going back is around about the 1st of March. So if you have a look at the 1st of March, we can see this stock was trading around about $11.20, and then we've seen a huge increase in volume, a huge increase in the RSI, which went in excess of 80, and it went from a price of around about $11.10 all the way up to a price of around about $11.80. So we've seen a little bit of consolidation there, but what's good news, what's good about this is it has held itself quite well, and from that $11.80 right now it's gone up a little bit more, currently trading at $12.22. It was up 3% close of play on the Friday, and certainly it's got potential to run further. Ticker symbol AG. The next stock I'd like to share with you is ticker symbol OXY, also known as Occidental Petroleum Corporation. So on the screen here, we're going to start by having a quick look at the profile. So this is a company that is engaged in the acquisition, exploration and development of oil and gas properties in the US, also in the Middle East, and also in Africa and Latin America. So it operates through 3 segments. These segments are oil and gas, chemical and midstream, and also marketing. So let's now have a look at the chart for this stock. So again, I'm going to share the 5-day chart for ticker symbol OXY. So on the screen here, what we can see, again, interesting for this stock, as it deals in oil and gas, we know what's happening around the world. We know what's also happening with regard to the price of oil and gas. It is rocketing. So just 5 days ago, around about just prior to the 1st of March 2022, this was trading around about the $40 mark. And from that $40, we've seen a significant increase in volume, huge increase in interest in this stock. And from the 4th of March, when it was trading around about $46, again, a significant spike. And just over the previous 5 days, this stock is up in excess of 45%. Close of play on the Friday, we can also see here on the screen, it was also up in excess of 17%, closing at $56.15. So certainly a great stock to look at from Monday. And the final stock I'd like to share with you is probably a stock that you may be aware of, ticker symbol CEI, also known as Camber Energy Incorporated. So before we look at the chart, let's have a look at the profile for the company. We can see that this is an independent oil and natural gas company. It's engaged in the acquisition, development and sale of crude oil, natural gas and also natural gas liquids. So again, right now in current market conditions, this is very promising. Let's have a look at the chart for ticker symbol CEI. So on the screen here, I'm just going to share the 1-day chart for ticker symbol CEI, which I think is more interesting because what we can see is from around about 6:05 p.m. UK time on close of play on the Friday, this was trading just in excess of 55 cents. And then we saw a very, very significant increase in volume, huge increase in the RSI, and it closed in excess of 31%, very close to 32%. So it went from around about 60 cents all the way up to 78 cents. So again, this has got huge potential to continue in terms of another run up. It is a high risk, high reward stock, ticker symbol CEI, currently trading at 78 cents. So certainly want to keep an eye on for this week. And finally, if you'd like to get advanced notification of stocks such as INDO, Indonesia Energy, and many of the other stocks that we feature in our Discord, we also, if you'd like to get access to our weekly watch list, which is available from today, you can join our Discord for as little as $9 a month. This will also give you access to the challenge. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.